Evening all, welcome back to Space Engineers. Right, I promised you a bit more of a look at the apocalypse, so we're going to do that now. I have to make sure I get this right. So the apocalypse is done, and we're going to return to it now. So again, returning to our mighty flagship SquadB, we're going to fly back to the apocalypse. And while we do that, let's just have a quick chat about this game. Now, there's a new patch out that comes with many things that we'll probably review next time. But I think what I certainly am getting excited about, I think, is the ability to color blocks better. I know I said that as an adult. That's a strange thing to be excited about, but it's pretty cool. So you'll notice I was back at our red dwarf here, and I was actually back there looking at how I'd built it, because I was kind of curious to see about the decks, but we'll come to that. What I wanted to do with the apocalypse is build the interior of it some more, but the issue is obviously the interior of that that massive, huge apocalypse is, as soon as you start putting decks in there, it's going to become just unplayable. So I guess I was just kind of curious how I'd done the Red Dwarf, certainly from that point of view, because what I thought the apocalypse would do well with would be some form of, obviously, an engineering piece, maybe some form of living deck or quarters maybe, and then at the front I thought it would be good just to have it as a great big cathedral. So that's actually what we're going to do. It's not the easiest thing to do, I must remind you, but we're going to certainly, I think, have issues with that. Plus, let's just talk about the map as well. So you notice that I'm obviously flying between the builds. This is done on purpose, so you actually don't have too much slowdown. So I've put a good few thousand meters between each of the builds, and as you see, just then using this this flagship, this is my little cruiser of awesome. This is what I use to go between them all, and that really does make sense. So if you are going to build stuff in here, I would highly recommend you do it in this fashion, because you can actually have quite big maps with quite a lot in there, but if you just space it out, you don't get much or any slowdown at all. Building the apocalypse, I think, was something that was really quite challenging to begin with, and I think really by the time we'd finished it, because we did it all in one day, I didn't mention that, but we actually did it in one day, an afternoon in fact, and it still needs some work. It still needs a little bit of beautification. It still needs beacons. It needs like those little bits of extra blocks. I was going to build turrets with proper rotating things, so it's far from being done, but the basic frame of it is kind of there. And I think in terms of its size, it's probably not a million miles away from what the real thing would be as well. So that's kind of cool. Now, one of the key things about it is, because you can see already the screen's starting to slow down a little bit, so this is a bit juddery. I do apologize for that, but you can see, just from this point of view, the basic shape is there, and I think the next few bits to build are going to be quite exciting. But most importantly, I want to get the internals right, because this is the biggest thing I've ever built in this game, and I'm still quite pleased that it can handle it. And now I know it's not perfect, I know it's not finished, but already I'm excited by this build. And I think, I really hope that they optimize it just that a little bit more, so that this could be my proper full-time base. So I could retire this flagship, which is a good size. It's perfect. It doesn't slow down at all. The game is built to handle these kind of size ships I'm on now. But if I can then migrate to this beauty of a wonderful, massive battleship with all of its rooms, I mean, it literally be a Minecraft map that moves with me. Oh, that's going to be so much fun. I can't tell you how exciting this is going to be. Loading it with guns, having like crews of people on it. I mean, imagine having like 20 people crewing this with me. How amazing would that be? Just rebuilding it, just literally the whole, series of adventures that we could have with this thing would be amazing once the game is out. I wouldn't like to build it though. I imagine to build this using the proper game's build mechanics would take forever. But we may try it. We'll see. Anyway, so you can see we've built like the little place for the pod. This is where the pod would sit effectively. So this is it. This is the internals in its entirety, and I'm quite proud of that. I think I could smooth it off. You see, we've got those kind of lines there, but we could smooth them off with angle blocks, but I've deliberately not done that yet, just because I don't want to put more pretty blocks on when they don't necessarily need it. I think I'd rather finish more of the kind of functional blocks, like the internals. It needs more reactors, it needs more bits and blocks inside first. I built a gantry that runs the whole length of the ship as well. That was pretty fun. And I think, can you just imagine, you could have probably 20 decks, maybe 15, 20 decks on this. So a deck is one block high. with then a block for the next floor and roof. That makes sense. And as you see, I put gravity in it as well, so I've actually had to use multiple gravity generators. Now the recent patch has actually brought about the fact that you can have you can change that gravity field as well, so we'll look at that and again in a bit more depth very soon. But we come into our engineering style deck, so we have our gyros, our reactors, our engines, and then we have just a few reactors, which at the moment seem to be enough, but it needs a lot more. So I think this is why I'm holding off adding blocks. In fact, I'm trying to remove blocks where I see them, because then that gives me the ability to just add the more in the right way. It's not unplayable, as you can see. It's relatively okay. I think having a spotlight in there doesn't help, but look at this forward bit. This could be some kind of real kick-ass cathedral to the Amar. That'd be pretty sweet, wouldn't it? And I think just having that ability would be amazing. And then as you fly right to the point, and as you see here, we have our pointed endy bit. We then have a little door, and as we fly out the door, you'll then see obviously the perspective of this thing becomes quite cool. So as we come out the door, we then go to the side, and that's our apocalypse. It's pretty sweet, isn't it? And I think that's kind of it, is that it needs more airlocks, it needs more life. And I think at the moment the game is pushing the game really to do it. But I think with just maybe a few more kind of, I guess, quick, simple fixes to some of the build that I've done, it may run a bit faster and it may be a bit more playable. But yeah, that really is the next step, is to fit this thing out. And I'm going to leave this as a kind of floating hulk for the time being. And I think this is, in essence, this is kind of ready for its final fit when the game develops that bit more. But I hope it goes to show that you can build something quite frankly huge, skyscraper-esque sized in this game, and it still runs. That ship flies, you can get in it and fly it. It takes a while, admittedly, but it is a perfectly functioning ship. It can be moved. I actually moved it further out as well, just because, and it did take a while to do, but it does move, etc. However, I think from that point we are done with the Apocalypse build. So now our minds turn to what to build next. And I think, well, I looked at the list and I thought, well, maybe I should do this or that, but I thought, let's do another Eve ship, because again, Eve ships are pretty, interesting. I think they're a challenge to build as well. So to do this, we're going to fly away from our Apocalypse. We're just going to get it off grid, as you would say. And as we do, I just give you a bit of a shot as we fly away. So there we go. Look at that. Not bad, eh? Not bad. Again, we could do the engines on it. We could do the guns on it. It needs the beacons between the two dipped pieces, the inverted camel humps. There's so much more you could do with it, but again, I don't want to tinker too much more, quite honestly. I think really the next step now is to build something new. And I think as I looked through the kind of list of ships that were out there, there were some quite obvious choices. Now, you're going to have to probably watch the next video for that. You see what I did there? Because I think what I want to try and do is maybe just do a little, a few episodes in a row to build something, then we have a bit of fun with it, because we've built a lot of stuff so far that we haven't destroyed. So we need to do that. That's something we actually do need to do. So, in the next few coming videos, we're going to start to show you some more of the destruction. Now, I'm going to take a copy of that Apocalypse and I'm going to wrap it around an asteroid and see what happens. I'm literally going to see if I can break the game. But you'll have to tune in next time for that exciting installment of wrapping a Apocalypse around a lamppost. We're also going to destroy this ship as well. We're going to copy this flagship and start destroying this as well. I mean, again, part of the game is building, but we mustn't forget the fact that the most enjoyable part of it is probably destroying as well. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed this as we kind of just go along the deck of our wonderful ship. This thing, I'm proud of this thing. This took quite a bit to do, I must admit, and I think I would love to see what happens if you just collide a couple of them into each other, or if you maybe throw it into an asteroid, or more importantly, what would happen if you just T-bone it and wipe it out entirely. But these are things that inquiring minds need to know, and these are the things that will be done. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.